Hello. Hello and welcome. I don't know if you can hear me. I hope you can. Welcome to the fourth session in our online event series, Christmas Made Easy, the secrets to getting through a family Christmas relatively argument-free. I'm Rosa Silverman and I'm one of the feature writers on the Telegraph. And in this 45-minute session, we'll be trying to tackle as many of your queries and concerns as possible and provide you with some top tips for coping with the stresses of the festive period, something that's likely to be even harder than usual this year, given the restrictions on what we can do, what we can't do, what we probably shouldn't do but might do anyway. It's shaping up to be a little bit of a festive minefield. Joining me this evening, I'm very excited to introduce mother and daughter duo, Jane and Bryony Gordon. Bryony is our much-loved, award-winning Telegraph columnist, best-selling author, and mental health campaigner. And Jane is also one of our brilliant Telegraph columnists and the author of the book, How Not to Get Old, which I think we'll probably all need to read after the year we've just had. So hello and welcome to Jane and Bryony.
This year we need the book, How to Get Old. So, look at all these people. Oh, hello. There's someone in Cincinnati.
And Toronto, Brian in Toronto.
Yeah, and Lymington, more closer to home. I would like to be in Lymington right now and not in my bedroom where I spend 20 hours of each day.
Oh, Lymington, that's where I spent half term. Hello to Lymington.
I love Lymington.
Good evening, Lymington.
Oh, probably in one.
Hello, Margate. So, should we get started?
Yes, we should. I don't want to just spend the whole evening just saying Devon, Scotland, Windsor, Plymouth, South Croydon in the house. Yes.
Okay, I mean, I don't want to interrupt you, but maybe we could have some questions about Christmas because people probably know where they're from. So Christmas is going to be a bit different this year, isn't it? So I want to ask you both a bit about how you're going to make it work, because we've got a few rules that we don't usually have around Christmas. Obviously, nothing says Christmas like the government giving us permission to meet for 5 days in a bubble of maximum 3 households. It's a bit bleak, isn't it? I mean, Jane, how are you going to choose who to bubble up with?
Well, I don't think I got a choice.
What's going on in your background there?
I didn't get a choice. Bryony told me. Anyway, having said that, I do feel a bit guilty. I'm going to be with Bryony, who endorsed it, and Edie and Harry. But my 2 other grown-up children are going to be with their father in London. And that's the first time I haven't been with them, yeah.
Is that sad?
It's sad, but it's not. Because I mean, I think one of the great advantages of this COVID Christmas is that you don't have the choice, so you can't feel guilty. Can you? You do what you can.
Exactly.
I think it's a really good opportunity to like shake things up a bit for Christmas. We get into such tradition, and I think we can forget it is a day, you know, and last year for Christmas, me and my husband and daughter, we went to Thailand for 10 days. And I remember breaking that to Mum, and she was like, "What? You're going where? You won't be with us on Christmas Day?" And I'm like, "No, it'll be quite tricky to navigate getting from Phuket to Henley."
And no, not even a FaceTime call, if I remember this year.
That is such lies. There were FaceTime calls, there was everything. But it was quite funny because I was a bit nervous about doing something different and going to a beach. And of course, that isn't people's reality this year, although you could. But it was really kind of, it didn't really matter.
You liked it better than Christmas.
There was a moment on Boxing Day when we woke up with the time difference, obviously as it was, to all these messages on the family WhatsApp group. They'd been arguing, and one of the messages from Mum was like, "You can come back to the house now." And Harry and I rolled over and looked at each other and went,
"I'm sorry," I said. "You can come back.
Should we go to the beach?" What a stressful day. But I also think, it's like I feel that Christmases can be Christmas. I mean, it really depends on the situation, but it can be really fraught. And I think this year is the year to go, let's just, whatever we do, make it fun. Like, can we not get obsessed about who's going to do the turkey? Like, let's not even have a turkey. Let's just get to takeaway.
And that's what I think, because I get very obsessional at Christmas and worried and everything. Oh no, I'm sure we had this one year, didn't we, Bryony? It was like 6 years ago, actually.
One year,
and
it was awful.
Well, this particular year, I moved into my cottage in the country. And I wanted everything to be perfect and da-di-da. We had a power cut on Christmas Day, and the turkey wasn't cooked. And anyway, Bryony came back from the pub. Bryony was.
No, it wasn't. I had been visiting my cousins down the road. Why
would you be
bothering her?
Like, trying to make out like I was some alcoholic or something.
Yes, I am.
How could you do that?
And when you were singing a Frozen song, which Frozen song was it? Oh yes, Build a Snowman.
I do remember, and you shouted.
And I came in and I shouted. I used expletives I've never used before. And then I ended up in the cupboard crying.
I do think that the thing about Christmas is that there'll always be members of the family who, like, some people take it more seriously than others, and some people care about it more than others. And then there's never going to be that thing where everyone's expectations are similar, and then someone feels like a martyr because they've been slaving in the kitchen. They're the ones having to clean up, and then someone else doesn't really get, and so it's kind of rife for all this kind of for arguments, really, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think that as a kind of, I think I've abdicated now. So Bryony's really, you're doing Christmas, aren't you, Bryony? I'm not doing anything.
Oh well, no, but so Christmas this year was I actually found it quite straightforward. So I decided to take the sting out of everyone's Christmas, and I was like, we're going to book. And of course, this was back in August. I think I did this. I booked a cottage in Dorset so that no one had to host. No one has to, no one has to worry about providing, like, it was just to make it kind of neutral and like almost like a Christmas present for everyone. Look, you can come to a cottage and relax. Obviously, that isn't because of the rule. Well, I mean, I realized because of the rule of six that wasn't going to work, and I didn't know what it was going to be. So my sister and brother and dad are going to actually come to my house, the one I'm in right now. We're going to go, the rest of us are going to go to Dorset. And I think it's just to kind of enjoy just a couple of, way.
Yeah. And actually, you said taking Christmas back to what it should be, which is, in my head, it was like always, it's like my mother used to call it the capital city of family Christmas, because she thought it was the most, and I kind of inherited that from her, this thing, it had to be perfect, and you're always disappointed by one thing or another.
There's been a very good question I've just seen from one of our viewers. Alison Clark has asked what advice you would give to deal with someone giving you a really bad present, thoughtless and crap, are her words. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. But what would you do if you were in that situation?
I think if it's from your loved one, you would be really angry, wouldn't you? I mean, you'd be really resentful. Because you hope that your partner, not that I've got one, gets you and buys it. And I think it's a huge thing at Christmas that men get wrong. Maybe women get it wrong, but I'm just saying is that I think, they've only got to get one wonderful present, haven't they? Bryony, do you agree with me? Is Harry good on that one?
I'm with Christmas. I don't expect gifts because I'm such a kind of, I'm quite a proactive person, and if I want something, I'll go out and I'll buy it myself, But I think I just have to be very specific, because I've spent many years thinking, I wish you'd just come up with this fantastic romantic present, but he doesn't, and that's not him, and so I can't change him, and maybe it's not what I want to. So I just say to him, I would like us to be able.
You don't want an oven glove.
No, once he bought me a bicycle seat cover.
Without
it was a hat. It was, but like actually, look, Martin has just said there, say thank you for any gift, and I'm absolutely in agreement. Like,
don't be so ungrateful.
like it's.
There is definitely a kind of worry with the main present for the main person in your life, don't you think? Rosa, surely you've had that too.
Yeah, I find you've just got to give, like Bryony says, you've got to give them instructions. I mean, maybe not all men, but definitely in my situation, yeah. But I've learned to give very specific instructions to the point that I'm actually sending like the exact URL of the thing that I want him to click on and then click purchase. And then it just leaves no room for anything to go wrong. I don't know, that's not really in the spirit of Christmas.
It's not very romantic, is it?
It's not romantic, no. But like Bryony says, after a while, you just have to accept that if you don't want something that's inappropriate, then maybe be a bit proactive about it, or just accept that you're going to get a bicycle seat cover and you're going to have to wear it as a hat.
I just think that I think that it's sort of how I would say for any kind of like you if someone's bad at buying gifts, they're bad at buying gifts, but it doesn't necessarily reflect on the fact that they don't love you, you know.
I know, but it's very symbolic at Christmas.
For me, at the moment, what is most important is that we get the present for like our daughter, right? And then I don't really, you know, I said to Harry, do you know what I'd really like it if we could go away next year, you know, and maybe like, generally, like, or for us, we're probably going to get our loft converted, which is a very exciting, glamorous present. But we will have a second bathroom. But for me, Christmas actually isn't about the gifts. Definitely.
But I think when you were growing up, and it was very important with me because I made Christmas such a ridiculous. In fact, I was like the Grouch that killed Christmas because I took it all so seriously. I'm sure Bryony will. And I did everything, you know, I was Mother Christmas. I did, you know, all the shopping, all the cooking, all the presents, the wrapping, the stocking fillings and everything. And so that one present you get from your partner is like your reward. And if it isn't that, so maybe this isn't, no one that's listening or watching us would agree with me, but I think for me that was very much
the gift that you could have asked for from my father could have been the gift of helping you with Christmas.
Yeah, no, but I wouldn't let him.
That's your issue, and dare I say it may explain why you're no longer married.
Yeah, I know. I think it probably does.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I don't mean to. Of course, I say all of this, but I will be really pissed off on Christmas. Like my favourite gift.
I know. I'll be there.
My favourite Christmas gift is to be able to stew passive aggressively about the inappropriateness of the gift that my husband has given me. That's my favourite thing. To be like, I am so good at gift giving. How come he's so rubbish? But I do genuinely think this year I'm like, you know, I've just seen that someone has asked a question about how they're in the unenviable. Sorry, I can't. My screen is can I click on it? Does that bring it up? Charlotte Patton Charlotte said that she's in the unenviable position of the family coming together for the first time since her husband died. You know, and any tips? And first of all, I would say I'm so sorry, Charlotte. And you know, I think the thing that you can I think also it's that thing of trying to. Sometimes I think when big things happen, we put this massive expectation on it being normal, or you know, or as perhaps your husband would have wanted to. And I think maybe you just make the Christmas about your like memories of him. Do you know what I mean? And just
yeah, I think that sounds like, I mean, something I haven't been through, but I noticed someone else's. Alison is also giving advice there.
Yeah, that's the thing. It will be hard, and I think it's like those firsts, isn't it? All those first things that you have to do without someone, you know, and it will be hard, and let it be, and don't beat yourself up if you feel like shit, to put it politely. Sorry, that wasn't polite at all. In fact, that was really, but you know, like I think so often we and that's the problem with Christmas, isn't it? And you sort of put, you know, pointed that out, Mum, is that you want everything to be perfect, and nothing is ever perfect. You're disappointed and you beat yourself up because you're a failure. And actually, I would say was it Charlotte? Just look, look after yourself. Let everyone else do all the work. Do you know what I mean? And let them hold you in like therapy speak. But don't expect it to be like a magical, experience. Just get through it, I would say.
Yeah, and get through it.
Good advice. There's also some advice requested for how to get through it when you've got two teenagers who are already bored out of their brains because they haven't been able to socialise this year. And it has been, let's not forget, a very hard year. What's that, Jane?
I'm thinking back to years gone by. Do you remember, Bryony, once you and your sister coming back at like 2 o'clock in the morning or something on Christmas Day, having been to a pub?
Right.
From these to public extending hours, and apparently I was standing by the front door saying Christmas is cancelled. I mean, they were teenagers then, and I think it is quite because you've had that whole year of them not actually being allowed to be teenagers. Really, I can't imagine what you do. Really, what do you think,
Bryony? I know obviously your daughter is not yet at that stage, but we'll be there eventually. What would you advise to Martin John, who's asked that
for
question?
a harmonious Christmas? I mean, wouldn't. But also, I would just say, remember what it was like when you were a teenager, and how you felt, and how if they're not perhaps that grateful, or they're like, oh, this is so boring. Remember that that isn't a reflection of their love for you or anything. And actually, I remember even as a teenager, when I was terribly ungrateful, I always actually really enjoyed Christmas and that opportunity to just kind of switch off and do nothing and eat loads and get into the spirit of things. Well, not even if I didn't appear to get into the spirit of things, there was a bit of my brain that was engaged in it. But I don't know. I haven't got teenagers, as I said, so my mum is best placed for that.
Yes, no, it was pretty tough actually, looking back, but it was fun. And I was thinking about grandparenting too, because I'm sure we've got grandparents here. And I remember one year Bryony's daughter, Edie, my granddaughter, asked me to buy her an animal. Do you remember, Bryony? And I wanted to buy her a rabbit, but thankfully I didn't. I was just thinking it's quite political being a grandparent, present you buy for your grandchildren. I mean, maybe even you, Rosa, because I know you've got 2 children. Granny buying the wrong present.
Well, we're always consulted, which is good because I'm a bit of a control freak, so I'm able to issue instructions to all the different people buying things and kind of like project manage the whole thing. Which again,
buying your grandchild a puppy is not a good idea, is it?
What's that? Sorry.
Buying your grandchild a puppy isn't a good idea.
I would not be pleased with that. No.
Yeah, I think that's the kind of present that you'd think, oh, I'm the greatest. Like you, if you did that without consulting with the parents, I think that's. I'm afraid, Mum, if you're buying us a puppy.
If it's anything sausage dog. Anything that's either alive or takes up more than 1 meter square of space in the house, I think you need to consult on. Anything small is fine because you can just shove it in a cupboard. What about young children? Because obviously Edie is still a young child. Christmas is really lovely when you've got young children because they're so excited by it. It's even lovelier when they're asleep and you can actually enjoy it. But what do you do when it sort of descends into arguments and tantrums and all that kind of, when they've eaten too much, they've eaten all their chocolate in one go and they're just going a bit crazy? Like, what do you do to kind of calm things down?
We've always had this thing of in our family, which I think works quite well, is that we don't have presents till the afternoon after lunch, do we, Bryony? Well, maybe we're going to change it this year because you're in charge. But we used to do this thing where stockings first thing, but the big presents were all kept till after lunch and we go for a walk. And just because otherwise it's all over by 7:30 in the morning, isn't it?
Yeah.
To them. So I think that is a good thing to do, to hold back some stuff.
Yeah, that's good advice because they become animals, don't they? They tear everything up, all the wrapping. And they stop even looking at the present.
I try and enjoy, like, that to me is the favourite bit of Christmas is like Edie opening her stocking and being like, ah! And it makes me laugh, and that just keeps me going for, you know, not just the rest of the day but the rest of the year. I mean, there's only like 6 days left of it, but you know.
And so recently we've all had stockings, haven't we, Brian? We've done it in age order, and everyone
I have really lowered expectation. I think it's important. I think Christmas needs to be like, we don't go big on it other than for Edie, because I don't know, it was different. Well, yeah, there were 3 kids, so I'm one of 3, but Harry and I don't do each other's stockings or anything like that. Or, I
think quite a few people still do, don't they? Like keep it going.
I think the best thing you can do at Christmas is just keep it simple. Well, I think that's the best you can do every day.
Keep every day simple, yeah.
That's the bonus of this COVID Christmas again, is that I think people are toning it down a bit. You know, it's not quite manic, is it?
No, that will hopefully help us. Sandra has asked a very good question, which is, how do you deal with family and guests who get very drunk and silly?
Oh, goodness me.
I think that it's, I mean, I think you just have to tolerate it and just quietly slip off and, you know, and hide in your room and read a book or something, you know, because it's one of those things where I find it really weird Christmas, because I don't know if anyone, I don't know how many people on here know, but I am in recovery from alcoholism. So I remember coming out of rehab, and it was my first, and it was Christmas, and be like, ah, and it's a really strange time if you're not that into drinking, and people are really interested. They're like, why don't you drink? You know, like they forget that there are people out there that don't drink, and the silly behavior can be really annoying. You know, it's when people start to repeat themselves, and it sort of takes over the day, and I think then you just have to like just take an exit and do what you have to do, and but instead of being annoyed that they've taken over, just go and use that time to do something nice for yourself, you know, and play the tape forward and think about how good you're going to feel the next day. how Ross and they're all gonna feel, you know. I think a bit of silliness is fine, and
games. I think someone was asking. I mean, we have games at Christmas usually, don't we, Bryony?
What games do you play?
Games.
Mind games.
The name on the head game we play. What else do we play?
The name on the head game is the best.
Okay.
Is that's not the one they played in The Crown at the?
We are much like the royal family.
I thought you might be. Which one are you?
Me? I'm the Queen.
Oh, you're the Queen. Sorry, of course. And Jane's the Queen Mum.
Oh, thank you.
I know, I'm a corgi, actually, I think.
Because I must say, our family, they do overdo it on Christmas Day, and I'm, you know, be like, you know, champagne with breakfast and things, which I think perhaps we shouldn't be doing.
Well, no one will be doing
it this year.
This is I actually, and this is where I come clean. And Rosa's gone. We'll just carry on talking until she comes back. She's left the room because she doesn't want to be present in this moment. But actually, one of the reasons we went to Thailand last year was because I couldn't cope with the being around the drinking, you know. But that was my problem. It's not yours, you know. I think it's quite a tricky one if you're not into drinking, because it can be, it's an excuse, isn't it, to just go a bit crazy.
And also, if if you are actually doing all the cooking and stuff, it's not a good idea to be drinking too early, and you know, you can just sort of end up, the whole thing can get lost, can't it?
It's all about the timing, isn't it? If you lose track of the timing when you're cooking,
I can't hear you, but I can hear you.
Oh, okay.
Can you hear me? Well, interesting.
Gorgeous.
Bryony, you know what I look like, so it's fine.
Someone's asked the question. Susan Taylor has said, what's the best way we ensure one family member, 7 years in recovery from alcoholism, oh, there you are, Rosa, and who will be spending first Christmas with us for years and wants everyone else to enjoy their tipple. And I think that for me personally, as an alcoholic in recovery, I don't find it tricky when other people drink in front of me. In fact, I can find it really useful when I see someone having 1 or 2 glasses with their Christmas lunch or whatever. It reminds me of why I can't drink, because I was never interested in having 1 or 2, you know, I wasn't interested in the Christmas lunch. I just wanted to be, and so it reminds me of why I can't, because, and also have no interest in drinking like that. So I think, remember, they're 7 years sober, you know, they're used to being in those things. They will have their own tools, hopefully, if they're in recovery. Perhaps they'll have 12-step meetings and stuff. But I think also, if people are drinking normally, it really isn't, I don't find it problematic at all. It's only when people get absolutely sozzled. But I know now I have tools, you know, if you've been in for 7 years, you know what to do. You know, exit stage left and go for a walk, and do you know what I mean?
And Bryony's been really good, actually, because we were all, that first Christmas, we were all worried. We went to a restaurant, didn't we, Bryony, to sort of ease ourselves back into with Bryony just out of rehab. And we had alcohol, I think, but not a great deal. But Bryony's been really, cool, quite often saying to me, even when I'm staying over with you, would you like a glass of wine or something? I don't find
it. I think I know that I need to remove myself if a situation is going to remind me perhaps of the type of drinking that I sometimes still miss. You know, I'm not going to lie. Like, of course, I would love to wake up on Christmas Day and get sozzled on champagne or whatever, but I can't. I don't have that. You know, I've lost that right, and I'm glad I don't do it. But so, for example, going to Thailand last year was how I knew that I know I won't be the killjoy. Do you know what I mean? Because I have a younger brother who's like 12 years younger than me, and he does like doing that. And I'm, but I just know that that's my issue, and I just remove myself from it. And it doesn't mean I don't love everyone. It doesn't mean I don't, I just need to protect myself from it, because I'm only 3 and a bit years.
You don't want to be offered elderflower, do you?
I'm a recovering alcoholic, not a wood sprite. But also, actually, that is the great thing, Suzanne. Look, that if there are so many non-alcohol alternatives now for people out there, that it is easy. You can give them But one thing I would advise, caution, Suzanne, is that a lot of alcoholics, obviously, it's kind to offer them. Perhaps ask your family member what they would like to drink as an alternative, because sometimes if you go guessing, like, for example, non-alcoholic beer, obviously it's people think, oh, would you like a non-alcoholic beer? But one of the things we're taught, one of the things I was taught in rehab was, Bryony, non-alcoholic beer is for non-alcoholics. And it can be quite triggering if you're, because the taste is so similar. So I would get in touch and say, hey, what would you like to have? And they may just want sparkling water. They may just want, but just get in touch and ask, and they'll be really touched by that, I think. Kind of like that free thought. Whenever someone does that for me, I'm like, I love you. You're so sweet,
Sandra's asking about competitive siblings, Bryony. I can't imagine. Arguments.
Are you competitive with your siblings, Bryony?
With games and things?
She's always stirring the pot, Rosa.
Jane?
We're not competitive at all, but she kind of likes to play us off against each other.
That's just good parenting, isn't it?
Little kid, I don't know, because I don't have. I presume Sandra means like little kids getting competitive about who's got the best present.
Oh, right, yes. Mind you, there is that. You do count pictures that I've got up in the house and count how many of you and how many of
whoever's a joke, Mum.
Also, I think some people do revert back to their sort of childhood selves, don't they? When you go back to your parents' house for Christmas, I don't know if you find this, Bryony, but like me, I've got 3 siblings, and like as soon as we're back home for Christmas all together, we're like, oh, he's had more smoked salmon than this person, and Meg did that, and like we're just like telling on each other to our mum, and she's like, you're in your 30s, what are you doing? Do you find yourself kind of reverting back, or are you a little bit more mature than us?
No, totally. But I, as I said, I have to. I do really actually have to plan Christmas now as in recovery, because it is a real flashpoint for, and it can be quite. So I have to really, I'm quite organised about how I'm going to spend it. I guess I'm a bit of a control freak, but I kind of feel I have to be. So I don't think, apart from that first Christmas, I don't think I've spent. Yes, I do revert. I do totally. Of course, we all do, don't we? That's, we're all big.
She's actually, Bryony, you've avoided us at Christmas ever since, haven't you?
No, I think. So this is. I think the first year we all went out for lunch, which was very nice. The second year I went to my in-laws because I'm allowed to do that for the first time. And then last year we went to Thailand, and then this year I'm generously renting a cottage that my mother is coming to stay in, and my in-laws are coming to stay in too. And somehow I am doing wrong, Rosa. God, you hate me. I didn't ask to be born.
So you definitely don't sound like
move on from drink.
Katie Fury has asked a question, which is, my ex is coming Christmas Eve and staying until Boxing Day at the request of our 6-year-old son, and he won't be able to travel to Spain, as he won't be able to travel to Spain for New Year, as he usually does. Any advice on how to cope with the ex being around at Christmas, Jane?
Well, exactly, because we have my ex, not this year, but every year he's come to stay since I've been living in the country. And it's good. I mean, it's really nice. But in fact, funnily enough,
you. She's like, it's really nice. I'm like, Mum, you don't have to lie.
but with a 6-year-old, obviously, this won't happen. But Bryony's sister Naomi told me this year that actually she finds it very tense. She actually doesn't enjoy him being with us at Christmas, or not, she doesn't enjoy us seeing her parents together after 15 years or something we've been divorced, and she feels like she's on eggshells, and so that's quite interesting. So this year she's going to be Naomi's sister and her brother Rufus are going to be with their father, and they'll probably have a very nice time, but I'm going to have a lovely time in Dorset.
I think that it comes back to that sort of simplification of Christmas that we've been obliged to do this year. Although for some that could actually mean that they're left on their own, because it can be a really lonely time for people, can't it, at Christmas? And it's easy to forget that when you've got a family. But have you got any suggestions for people who are on their own after what's been a really lonely year for a lot of people?
I think that, it's been an exceptionally tricky and difficult and isolated year. And so, if I come out with some trite platitude, like it's just a day, do you know what I mean? And it's not important, that's really unhelpful, actually, but what I would do is, if you feel lonely, and all of those things, that's totally okay. What I would do, and I kind of think that this is something I would say, we kind of obsess over what gifts we're going to give to everybody else and how we're going to spend it and yada, yada, yada. But like maybe plan out the day for you and what would you like to do? What movie would you like to watch? What food do you want to eat? What gift are you going to give yourself or enjoy? And like, make a day out of like radical self-care. It sounds so cheesy, but really, because we have to, there's no point, I think, rallying against what is. If you're going to have to spend Christmas Day by yourself, you're going to have to spend Christmas Day by yourself. So how do you get through it in the best way? How do you, get the most out of it? How do you take that negative and turn it into a positive? And I'm pretty sure there must be also, like, I don't know, I'm sure there's probably sort of online stuff this year, but, and if you have someone to reach out to them. But yeah, I'd sort of think it's like plan what it is.
I think, and I also think the great Zoom thing, you know, because I have several friends who, like me, are divorced or widowed or whatever, and we do kind of Zoom calls. And I think that on Christmas Day, even I'm going to be endorsed that we're going to have a call, you know, and talk to each other. And so in that sense, maybe again, you know, if you're on your own, you don't have to be on your own. Hello?
Well, I do think in that respect, this year has, you know, there are some ways in which it has got better. And, you know, I don't know about you, but this was the first year we set up a neighbourhood WhatsApp group, you know. Maybe if you've got one of them, send a message out and say, hey, if anyone's on their own at Christmas, do let us know and we can all be around. You know, you don't even have to say that you're going to be on your own. It's, you know, like one of the things I've learned in recovery is that acts of service are like the best ways to get out of your own head and feel good. So maybe there's something you could do to volunteer for, you know, volunteer, even if it is just offering to help a neighbour, you know, who's, you know, there's, you know, go around and say, bring them a box of chocolates or something. It doesn't have to be a big thing, like offer to make them a cup of tea or something, you know, but there are ways you can reach out. And if not, just enjoy being with them. Just enjoy the fact that you don't have to, you know, be the arguments and, you know. Speaking of the arguments, I've just seen that question, which is how do you deal with a constantly sniping mother-in-law? And Christine, I suddenly reminded me of the advice I was given by a counsellor in rehab, right, on how to get through Christmas with your family. And I don't think you have to be a recovering alcoholic or addict to take this advice. I think it's just as valuable for anyone. And he said, smile and wave, smile and wave. But the other thing he said was, remember, do you want to be happy or do you want to be right? Right? And I'm like, can I be both?
Definitely right.
Like just taking a deep breath and stepping back. And someone else framed it to me. I remember going away on this work trip and there was someone on it and they were just so patronizing to me. I remember letting off steam to this other person and they were like, Brian, you just see it like you're doing them a favor. They need someone to patronize and you have very kindly stepped up and that you're giving them, you know, you're a gift for them and just play the role. Smile and wave. Just smile and wave, you know, just it is a day.
It's a bit weird waving at someone when they're standing right next to you, though. Maybe that's where the 2 meter distancing comes in, because then you can.
I mean, the other way is you could just say that you've got a new continuous cough, a high fever, and you've lost your sense of smell or taste.
It is the perfect excuse now, isn't it? I mean, no one wants to see you if you've got a slight fever. Whereas in the past, you'd be like, oh, it's probably just that I'm a bit hot. Go out,
have a beach.
Exactly. That's going to be gone, isn't it? What about
asking an interesting question about step siblings, because we did have a period of that, and that I think that's quite awkward, isn't it? That, you know, because you do have very different families. You know, one of the most unique thing about a family, I think, is the way they spend Christmas. You know, they have those traditions. They probably don't even aware of it, but not even aware of it. But when Bryony had sort of briefly step siblings, they celebrated Christmas Eve and we didn't celebrate Christmas Eve. We celebrated on Christmas Day, and it was always a bit awkward. And I you know, it is tricky, isn't it? I'm not sure I've got any advice for that, but respect other people's family traditions. You know,
it's a bit like when you're married, isn't it? And you're spending it with your partner's family, your spouse's family, and they have their own traditions and you have yours. Yeah. Obviously yours are the right ones, but you've got to accept that they have different ones.
Yeah, exactly. That's quite
it's compromise, really, isn't it? I think that, you know, and I think that it's about, you know, it's all about love, really, and as long as they know that they're loved, even if they're not doing perhaps the Christmas that they're used to, I think that's. And there are also, you know, the festive period isn't just one day, is it? You know, like it's
five whole days this year.
Why, you know, there are all, you know, yeah, exactly. You can do different things on different days, and yeah.
Is that legal?
They don't tell us what we're actually allowed to do.
Yeah, that's true. There's probably a list somewhere. Matt Hancock's probably on the list. Yeah. We'll have to check it. Somebody asked a question earlier, which was, and I apologise because I can't remember who asked it, but it was what do you do on Boxing Day? What do you both do on Boxing Day? Is that still a continuation of the festivities?
Nothing. I do nothing.
More games, more alcohol, more food, really.
I am so excited this year. I have got this. My Christmas present to myself is I went and just got so many books that I want to read, and that I'm gonna take myself off with the book of
What? You're not
and I'm gonna sit and read. I'm going to make sure I read at least 2 hours a day, and I read with Edie as well. I've got her. She doesn't know it. She's at gymnastics.
She wants to play games with me, Bryony. She doesn't want to read books with me.
We've got this series of books that she loves, and we've got her the whole collection. And she does actually really enjoy sitting down and reading them, and we read and we put on the voices and we act them out. And I'm gonna make sure we do at least an hour or 2 hours of that a day, because I think it's a real time. I really do feel that everyone needs to switch off properly this year, because it's been so stressful and so up and down. And I also think that there may be a moment of thinking it's Christmas and, we've done the lockdowns, we've just come out of the second lockdown, the vaccine's around the corner, hooray. And I think it's about steeling yourself, grounding yourself, taking a deep breath, and perhaps accepting the fact that actually these restrictions may go on until Easter, which is like not very. And it's like, thanks.
Not going too mad.
So just enjoy it. Like really use it as a chance to reset, as we would, as the government say. So don't and just like switch off and not have to. Also, so many of us have had to work from home, right? So our home spaces have become offices, and the boundaries are blurred, and we don't switch off ever. So I think it's a really important time to just turn off your devices. Do you know what I mean? Like watch television, of course, but really just say no. I'm not.
And someone is saying going for long walks too. Hopefully, Christmas is walks, family walks. And I've got the dog. I've got the dog. Unwanted guest.
It is a bit harder this year, isn't it, to get in the Christmas spirit when you're not going to the Christmas parties that we'd usually go to. You're not necessarily going into town to do I suppose you can go and do your Christmas shopping.
I'm all in favour of the no Christmas parties and no shopping down Oxford Street. No thanks to it. Thumbs up from me.
So silver linings.
By 8 o'clock on Christmas Eve.
I mean, just fantastic. Like, things aren't as we expected they would be this year, but that's okay. I spent my 40th birthday eating fish and chips in the drizzle. Do you know what I mean? And I was in bed by 8:30, but it was lovely.
Like a dream.
I think you've got to just make do. You've got to take what you have and work, go with it.
Lindsay is just saying baked potatoes and ham and cold turkey on Boxing Day.
Oh yeah, that's good.
It's very important.
Yeah, but you've got like 2 tons worth of cold turkey to eat, haven't you?
We just talk about. I hate turkey. I'm sorry, it's so dry. It's not enjoyable at all. Like, can we just have something? Can we just agree to have something else?
A goose? Would you do a goose?
Yeah, but I also read that because the gatherings are going to be smaller, that the turkey farmers were having to kill the turkey and put them in the deep freeze.
So isn't that what you do anyway, just before Christmas? Kill the turkeys so that
I know, but they wanted to kill them earlier because they didn't need them to be as big because they weren't.
The year that
I read that in the Daily Telegraph.
Well, it's definitely true then. It must be.
There was one year that Bryony's father went to collect the turkey from the butcher that I booked, and I said it's a £20 turkey, and it was £20 in weight, and he came back with one that cost £20. It was about this big. Disaster. That's so many disasters, actually.
I'm afraid that we're actually running out of time now. So I'm going to have to wrap things up there, I think. So I hope you've all enjoyed the session, and thanks, and have a great Christmas.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.